Well, hello, nervous investor. How are you doing? Rodrigo Santiago here, and this is another video from our masterclass series, the blockchain killer number 7, network takeover. So first of all, this is for entertainment purposes only. It's not financial advice. You should do your own research and verify what I'm saying by your own means. So who am I? I'm Rodrigo Santiago, and IT tech lead in Brazil, proud CKB holder. And forgive me for any English mistakes, written or spoken, because it's not my native language, right? So the presentation, my intention here is to help you to identify key points to be analyzed in any blockchain investment, including Nervos. So I encourage you to just correct me if I'm wrong, because blockchain is a new field. I could be totally wrong on this video. So shoot me a message, leave a comment, go to the Telegram group, curse me, whatever. Yeah, let's just have a nice chat. And then I can learn from you. Hopefully you will be able to learn something out of those videos I'm recording. So in the former videos, we went to long-term sustainability, unlimited scalability, Bitcoin grade security level, true interoperability, permanent decentralization, and permissionless access. Those are the main solutions that I've presented so far from 6 other blockchain killers. So this is what Nervos brings us, lots of value in a single infrastructure. So let's go for network takeover risk. Let's see. These are some questions and observations that you should look for in other blockchain investments and in Nervos also. Are there some class of users who could be victimized by other participants with the inappropriated intentions? Have the system designers created the ecosystem so that participant rewards are higher if they decide not to cheat the system? So as a participant, what I want to see is if I don't do anything wrong, I get the highest reward possible. If I do something wrong, I won't be rewarded. So that's it. It's a good challenge, right? Can the network be dominated by hackers, elite groups, or cartels? We've seen that, yes, many networks suffers from attacks. So is there any ways for a participant with a bad intention to manipulate the system so he can do better than others? So what you want to see here as a user, told that already in other videos. What you want to see is when a participant does its best effort to get the most reward possible, all the other ones also get rewarded by that. So this is what we want among stakeholders at different levels from a blockchain ecosystem. So does the system offer restrictions so that no participant is in a more comfortable position than the other ones? So is there anything that can be in a comfortable, no effort, high gains position? That's what I look to see, because it causes an imbalance in the blockchain. And because of that, maybe the effects will just come in the long run. Maybe some of the effects can't be seen at all. But yeah, you have to look for ways to make those distinctions. You should see for yourself if a blockchain is causing imbalance between participants. So here's an example. In Nano, there was a transaction spamming attack that has disrupted operations on the Nano network. Some transactions are obstructed because of that. So people who are taking on the fee-less transactions thing in Nano Network, they are abusing the network. And fee-less is different from cost-less transactions. All the transactions in any blockchain has an energy cost. So the real question here is, who is paying to the other people to be able to do fee-less transactions? And those are the people who decide to pay for the computers to participate in the consensus protocol. So in Nano and also in IOTA, we have fee-less transactions. Well, the great news is somebody is going to pay for that, and somebody is going to exaggerate on the transactions. In the case of IOTA, I think it's more difficult. I don't know exactly how Nano Network works, but in IOTA, in order to have one transaction validated, you have to validate other two transactions first. So it's the author actually states that it's kind of the giving forward, it's paying it forward, like kind of thing. So yeah, in Nano we have doors wide open for people to abuse the fee-less transactions. If you try to give too much to a user, it's going to be abusive back to you. So somebody is paying for that. And I just had a small chat with a person that says that Nano is going through that kind of attack again from the time I'm recording this. And the guy can't sell his Nano because the network is obstructed again. He's unable to sell his Nano to get into other investments and to take profits. So we don't know who is doing that. We don't know why that person is doing that in the network, like abusing the fee-less transactions, obstructing the network. But it probably have some, the person that's doing that is probably with some second thoughts behind his or her back. So he's trying to get some advantage out of it. I don't know, maybe it's selling after a spike. I don't know. I really don't know. So keep watching about that. So selfish mining. Let's go to another subject. Selfish mining is a kind of attack in which groups of miners collude to increase their revenue and exert power over a blockchain. So a group of miners create a mining pool, they mine some blocks, a whole branch, separated from the main Bitcoin network. And when that branch is too big, they go back and send that branch to the main Bitcoin network. By doing that, miners can win the blocks and win the Bitcoin rewards in a much higher rate than the other participants. This is bad, and this is actually the current design from BTC. Some people say that in the long run, selfish mining will kind of will start to be used by everybody, so that selfish mining is counterbalancing itself, but it's just not a proper feature of a blockchain design. And then we have the hackers stealing from contracts, from smart contracts. Here we have the DAO attack, and this news is from CoinDesk. The DAO hack was the famous hack in which an attacker managed to drain more than 3.6 million Ether into a child DAO that has the same structure as the original DAO. The DAO here is the first smart contract in Ethereum in which people did a crowd sale. So people has bought their ETH in there or anything like that, and that that DAO fund, that DAO contract was a fund for the development of the Ethereum ecosystem. It's more of a fund than a crowd sale thing. So a hacker could just drain the money from there, and all the ether was in a single address, which is a bad idea. So in smart contracts in Ethereum today, we have a thing called the account model. In the account model, every participant on a contract, on a DeFi contract, for example, they deposit their money, their ETH, into the contract itself. So if there are too many participants, it becomes a huge honeypot, and many hackers are incentivized to go after loopholes in those contracts. So every smart contract in Ethereum today, basically the most successful ones, are huge honeypots that hackers, huge treasure chests. I keep thinking about DuckTales, that little guy that swims in the coins in a big safe. So this is what Ethereum smart contracts are today. It's just huge treasure chests that hackers just have to find one loophole, one private key in order to be able to steal funds and get away with it. So another thing, it's about regulation. So let's see the lower part here in the page. Lawyers also pointed to its creators as potentially liable for any problem that may occur. And several expressed concern that token holders of the DAO were accepting responsibility that they were likely unaware of. So governments could make the devs, the development team, or the holders responsible for hacks. So it's a pretty gray area, as it's written here, of law and regulation. So with the current smart contract design, we could have the government going after developers. We could have hackers stealing lots of money from just one smart contract. It's very decentralized. And this account model from Ethereum, it's been copied over and over to other networks. I know that Binance Smart Chain also has an account model for DeFi, and Mina protocol also go through the account model. And I guess most of the blockchains today that are implementing smart contracts, they are going through this account model that centralizes finance. And centralization is not good. We know that. So hackers stole 120 million via 15 DeFi hacks in 2020. So this is from January 1st. All throughout 2020, 100 million was stolen. And it got worse because in 5 days, March 9th, 2021, we've seen hackers stealing $200 million from DeFi contracts. So right now, I personally wouldn't invest in DeFi at all. There are people who are very skilled at it. I'm not one of them. And if you are just beginning, there are so many good investments in crypto today and for the next 10, 20 years. Just measure the risks, okay? Measure the risks. If you are seeing a DeFi contract that has a high yield, it promises 50% a year, 100% a year, or anything like that, it really should sound suspicious, because there's no free money in the market, right? So if you're going into DeFi, really, read about the specifications of the DeFi contracts. For example, I think MakerDAO is a good DeFi contract, but even MakerDAO had some loopholes discovered. So yeah, just really do a thorough study of any DeFi protocols you are going to invest into. Really, really, really study it. Because it could just be a scam. And there are many, many scams today in the crypto industry. So this is for the network takeover by hackers. Now let's go into a different subject, which is proof of stake versus proof of work. So this article is from a guy in the Medium that wrote about how Cardano is, how secure is Cardano network. So let's just go a small bit on proof of stake versus proof of work here. In proof of work, let's just read and then I go from there. In proof of work, participants in the consensus mechanism essentially put fiat money at stake by converting the money in hardware and electricity so that the miner can earn the rewards. It invests in machinery, electricity, cheap electricity, so it gets mined coins and it sells in the market. In proof of stake, participants use the blockchain's native currency itself to prove they have skin in the game. So in proof of stake, participants will allocate some portion of its holdings so that the network can validate transactions. So very different philosophy here. Proof of work, you are paying for hardware, energy, and then you do physical effort in order to validate transactions and earn a reward. Proof of stake is just like a savings account. You put your money in there and you allow the network to validate transactions according to the size of your, and you earn in accordance to the size of your stake in the whole network. So you are competing with others on the size of stake you have. It's like a lottery, really. So in proof of work, we have a strong incentive to spend with hardware, like innovations on computing speed, computing power, on energy, energy generation. And in proof of stake is just like a savings account, and whoever have the highest stake wins more than the other ones. So it's just like that. But in general, what Cardano, for example, is doing is trying to get the same level of yield for everybody who are in the network. So if I have $15, I will be earning like 5% a year in Cardano. And if somebody have $1 million, that person will also earn the 5% yield based on ADA currency, right? So it has the intention to be more fair, but this is, for now, this is just an assumption, okay? So in the next slide, we see that this is from blockchaintechnologynews.com. They are explaining how Cardano really do decentralized governance from the ADA token. So Cardano team want to disrupt big tech and more fairly distribute power across society. Yeah, right. It's a good intention. Let's see if it works, because when we have a savings account that's issuing 5% a year, I'm in a comfortable position, really. I know how much I will win. I won't lose anything. And this starts to feel like free money. And we know that free money just can't exist. Free money can't exist in good, sound economics. When everybody thinks that they have free money, they will be incentivized to go all in on that free, secure, safe money. And then the people who can get the highest stake is going to do better than the others, because if I have a clear winner and a savings account that's so magical that I can't lose anything, I will have a race around who gets the biggest share of the ADA tokens, for example. Because if it's secure enough, I would like to be the biggest share. That's it. So as ADA tokens are scarce, it stimulates this race. And what can happen is, if nobody's doing any effort, somebody will find another way to, we'll find a clever way to, like, really to get an advantage of the system. It doesn't smell like a good thing from my point of view. But they have a kind of an assumption that proof of work just work in the wrong way by spending lots of energy to validate transactions. So another thing that Cardano is trying to do to create a good decentralized coin is Cardano will make sure that its staking pools do not gather too much power. So a way in which they are trying to do this is by forbidding stakers of not of voting. So whoever is staking some ADA, they can't vote in the protocol changes. So this creates another problem, which is the people who are voting can vote against people who hasn't the right to vote. So this creates all kinds of imbalances in the system. And there's yet another loophole here, another dangerous thing in Cardano, which is Cardano also intended to implement enterprise addresses, which would prevent exchanges from staking their ADA and taking over stake pools. So ADA has said very little about this, and they do not seem to be a current feature. So it's about the Voltaire phase, which be one of the Cardano's development phases. So what we see here is really a permission layer in Cardano. When we got permissioned layer, we've got humans deciding on a blockchain consensus. So it's just not mature enough from a blockchain perspective, from what a blockchain should be. It's not mature enough. But again, what they are trying to do with proof of stake is to block greedy miners from reaping the highest rewards. So they have this idea that miners are greedy. And in reality, if that's true, if miners are greedy, then they should create a network that is better for the average guy. But the average guy is being brought with the message that Cardano is really free money with no effort. So it will bring the big guys too. And those ones who can get the biggest stakes will win anyway. So greedy people will exist in any human interaction space. We have just to get a way in which a greedy participant will create value by being greedy. This is the main thing that I would expect a good blockchain design to have. A way in which the really greedy ones can create value by letting their most evil thoughts and feelings and emotions coming around. So yeah, um, by being greedy, we know that investors, me, you, everybody, we're just comparing different investments. And then there's this article that proposes that lending pools could cannibalize, could eat the proof of stake ecosystems on the long run. Because if staking pools are working just as a savings account, maybe the stakers will decide to go to higher yield staking lending pools or whatever in the long run. So they will migrate from low yield staking pools to higher yield staking pools. So this was a software simulation that states that there are some predictions that suggest that POS chains, proof of stake chains, cannot safely use deflationary monetary policy. If a proof of stake block reward is decreasing over time, then its long run equilibrium will be for almost all assets to be lent, not staked. I would go even further than take a step forward, an extra step on that, and I would say that people would look for any kind of investment that would issue a higher yield than the staking pools. So this is critical for the ability for the proof of stake networks to survive, right? So there's a small note here. This thing, stake pools don't vote. The risk that some people just decide things that create a problem for other people. In Ethereum right now, we have the miners raging about the cut in the Ethereum fees because some people decided that cutting fees would be a good solution for the high gas fee problem. I think this is the worst solution at all because Ethereum is just an amazing network. It works wonders. Besides having some problems, it works wonders. And because it works wonders, then people are demanding transactions from the Ethereum network. Because Ethereum transactions are an important resource in the economy today, they are widely demanded and prices go up. And this is just what it is. We are recreating the financial banking system, and the people who are demanding for Ethereum gas fees today are the ones who can pay the highest gas fee. So again and again we see the richest taking over the space of the poor, of the average guy, of me and you probably. I don't know if you're rich ass, but I'm not. So when we have transactions that are too expensive, this is just a feature of the system. It's just nature. It's just economic nature. So the real, in my opinion, the real solution is in scaling on layer 2. And it's not on cutting fees. Because if I cut Ethereum fees today by altering the source code that miners have to run, guess what? The fees will be lower, and then more people will be able to get in. More people will demand for Ethereum validation and for Ethereum transactions. And then we'll get to the same situation. I cut the fees and the fees go high again. Because the real problem was not solved, which is the scarcity of Ethereum transactions. there's a limit for Ethereum transactions per second. So if you come with a solution in the wrong place, the problem will just be masked, and it will reappear in the future, and it can actually get worse. So this is the extra note I would like to do. So people decided to vote in Ethereum for cutting fees, but it is not an intelligent solution. This is just my opinion. It's not an intelligent solution. This is why I love Nervos L2 layer 2 concept, because from the day zero, the team knows that the transactions on layer 1 is scarce. So the solution is at a pretty different level. It's a whole different level. So yes, investor and stakers are looking for better alternatives to stake their money, and lending pools, DeFi contracts, they will all compete with proof of stake pools. So because proof of stake systems depend on staking to be able to validate transactions, we have a huge problem here, because if lending pools and DeFi contracts in any moment in the future start to drain stakers from staking pools, then Ethereum in the future, because it's proof of stake, and also Cardano in the future, they risk losing the capacity of validating transactions. This is what can happen. There's another dangerous assumption here, which is if we spend less energy, we will spend less for having highest security, for having a higher security scheme. This is just an assumption. When you put a blockchain in the blockchain space, you are concurring with many other blockchains. So when we say that Cardano has a less cost for higher security, what we are assuming is that Bitcoin should not be seen as a good competitor to Cardano. I don't know if that's true at all, but this is what Cardano and proof of stake defensors are trying to convey in their spoken language, but I'm still going to see the reality of it in the real world. If we were to shut down all the proof of work blockchains and we would allow proof of stake only to be alive, then we would be in a world in which proof of stake protocols wouldn't have competitors. But it's not possible to shut down Bitcoin network. Governments can ban crypto, but they can't stop Bitcoin network. It's impossible to shut down all the nodes. So proof of stake will always have the proof of work competitor. And now, beside proof of stake, lending pools, DeFi contracts competing among themselves, we also have the proof of work competing with proof of stake. So as an investor, I would just look at the space and see, well, what can give me the biggest reward? It's proof of work, it's proof of stake, it's lending pools, it's DeFi contracts. So I think proof of stake defenders are being just naive by affirming that proof of stake will issue the highest reward for participants and it's the best security model and whatever. These are just claims that has not put to the test really so far. So this is a study done among consensus mechanisms, and this is the comparison between proof of stake and proof of work reward potential. Proof of stake has a linear potential for rewards over time, meaning that if you put $5 in the network, those $5 will continue to issue the same reward over time. You'll always have the same kind of percentage yield given back to you. You can reinvest and stuff, and this is compounding over time. We know that, but once you have a stake from the Cardano lending pool, from the Cardano network, you can't really do much more than that. And as we know that Cardano has limited issuance, a limited supply, those ones who get the highest supply over time are the ones who do better than others. So that's it. Whereas proof of work, if you do good research, if you do good investments, you can reap the rewards from all participants, from most of the other miners. You can put miners out of the game, but you should always keep an eye on the back window, because even if some competitors are behind you, they could discover some technology or some energy source or some country in which energy is cheaper, then they can move their operations to those places, and winners could be losers in the next day. So it's very unpredictable. It's just a race on research for not only loans and capital fundraising, but it's a race for technology and really high tech. So this is proof of work return potential versus proof of stake return potential. So both proof of work and proof of stake chains will be here forever, I guess. Bitcoin's going nowhere. So Nervos network is going nowhere. And it's up to you as an investor to know the differences and thinking, should I go to proof of work? Should I become a miner? Should I just buy coins and holding? Or should I do proof of stake, staking my coins? Should I go to Nervos DAO? What should I do? Should I trade my coins over time? To swing trade, day trade? All those different strategies will give you enough money if you do them well. So you are the one to decide. I don't think proof of work is going to be shut down. I don't think proof of stake is going to fail. I think those will all be different competitors in the space, and it's up to you as a user to choose whatever you feel more comfortable with. But there's one characteristic in proof of work that I love, some of them actually. The first of them is a proof of work miner can't be in a comfortable position of just holding the coins. They have to sell the coins in order to pay for electricity all the time. They are selling it all the time. So they can't collude against you as a holder. You can't have a miner that's holding coins that you can't buy unless this miner is extremely efficient. And if the miner is extremely efficient, it's okay if that guy, if that woman can just hold some coins for the future. But the miners has an impossible to get rid cost, ongoing cost. The energy cost is ongoing. It will not stop. So miners always have to deal with cost of hardware, cost of energy. They have to sell their coins. It's just nature acting to balance stuff. Whereas in proof of stake, you are in a comfortable position as a staker, and you just sell when you want to sell. And because of that, maybe the coins will moon soon, but then after the moon soon, who knows, maybe we'll have a big drop. And this is what happened in Cardano in the past. Cardano in 2017, I guess, or 18, I don't remember. It went to $1.20 or 19 cents, something like that. And then it dropped in the crypto winter to 2 cents. Oh my gosh. From $1.20 to 2 cents. It destroyed completely the value of the coin for the people who bought in the highest prices. So many of them have sold their coins to trying to get something back, but really many of them got out in a loss. But this is just what crypto is, right? You gotta hold your coins on the winter. Just hold your coins, buy more in the deep dip, and then you see the future results from that. So proof of work versus proof of stake. It's just a starting point from this network takeover thing. It's impossible to actually shut down any kind of networks today. So whenever you see people arguing that proof of stake will win over time, that's just a lie. It's unproven, actually. It's just a claim. I wouldn't say that it is a lie, it's just a claim. So the biggest POS competitors will be DeFi protocols, other POS networks with higher yields, because why keeping Cardano if I could go to another solid proof of stake system that copies some of Cardano code, and then I can earn more yield or something. So proof of work systems, and really any kind of other investments. So the first thing when we see, because Nervos network is proof of work, some people think that POW is bad by nature. Too much energy is bad. So they think that energy equals bad. Energy is bad. So let's see if it's bad. Energy by itself can't be bad, right? It's just a nature thing. So there's this article that says how large-scale Bitcoin mining is driving clean energy innovation. Because fossil fuels and coal mining, coal energy generation have a cost. And why not try to invest in renewable energy? Because the sun, for example, we all know that the sun is a huge source of energy, and we have so many different energy sources coming and being developed. And Bitcoin right now is one of the greatest drivers for clean energy initiatives. So because crypto mining isn't tied to a location, many mining operations are seeking out regions to build data centers that offer cheap and ideally renewable energy sources. Here in Brazil, for example, we have too much water and waterfalls and stuff. We have plenty of clean energy to be used on Bitcoin, for example. So or of course, Nervos. So currently, sustainable energy sources like hydro and wind are not only the cleanest, but the most cost-effective for mining operations to take advantage of. Mining operations also look for locations that have excess energy to spare. Well, when you think that energy is bad, it's just the wrong kind of energy that's bad. So coal energy, coal electricity, or fossil fuel energy sources, those are the ones who really do bad stuff with the environment. But clean energy is clean. It's energy and it's clean. So why not? Why not using clean energy in places that have excess energy to spare? Nobody's using. That's energy and it's clean. So it has no problem. Like, there are other stuff that I would like to express around that subject. When a massive amount of energy goes in, a massive amount of energy needs to come out. So this is what mining does. It gets electricity, transforms in validation, and then that electricity becomes heat. So that excess comes in form of heat by a byproduct of mining operations. But now Bitcoin miners are asking, what if something good could be done with that excess heat? So miners, they are looking into extra places for having a profit. And investing in places that have cheap, clean energy automatically means that they are investing in developing countries. So they could reuse the heat, they could invest in places in which people need more jobs. They will buy hardware from people that are really creating jobs in many developing countries. So Bitcoin is driving development, economic development in many places in the world. Okay? So there's an idea here. The heat could be used to feed heat in the 300 square meter greenhouse with a specialty built-in air duct system. It could be used to grow fruits, vegetables, can be used for really creating fish, farming, different kinds of cultures, provide heat for fruit and vegetable drying. So all kinds of business models can be created by this circular energy, the circular economy around Bitcoin. Bitcoin, by using lots of energy, is really driving a high economic growth in many different areas of the planet. And because of that, there's this study in annualreviews.org, and it's just the abstract. Variable renewables will attain very high levels of penetration into energy systems, particularly in regions well endowed with solar and wind potential. So the driest places on Earth, they got lots of sun in there, for example. Similar to their success with mobile phone telephony, many developing countries have a significant opportunity of leapfrog directly to more advanced energy technologies that are low cost, reliable, environmentally more benign, and well suited for serving dispersed rural populations. So when we talk about clean energy development, we're talking about developing countries. That's it. And what's the connection between energy development in developing countries and economic growth? Let's see. There's this Science Direction article. It's a study, and it's just an abstract from the study. The long-run relationship between energy access and economic growth for 15 African countries from 1980 to 2080. It was a study done in 15 countries, African countries. Results show that GDP and energy consumption, as well as GDP and electricity, move together in the long run. So economic growth, energy, and electricity, they move together in the long run. So the causality is running from GDP to energy consumption. Consumption is in the short run. So in the short run, the rich come and create energy consumption. And from energy consumption to GDP in the long run. So there's a feedback. When somebody that can spend a lot of money comes and start to consume energy in a place, in the long run, that energy consumption is tied to create a higher GDP for everybody else in the in the place in the long run. So this feedback cycle just creates the growth in several different places. So the study suggests that lack or limited access to modern energy services could hamper economic growth and compromise the development prospects of these countries. So when you are trying to hold Bitcoin from being um, operating everywhere on the planet and all the proof of work systems, you're actually hampering economic growth in developing countries. So when the when India government tries to ban Bitcoin and just not allow the exchanges, national exchanges to exist, what they are doing really is to not allowing the whole space to create an economic development. So this is pretty much it for the proof of work rationale, right? So the end result, yeah, we got that. We got the end result. If you get an unbalanced incentive system or a high leverage weakness, the blockchain will both collapse or be taken over by individuals or elite groups. And of course, there's this other subject in which proof of work versus proof of stake has a little bit to do with those things because we are looking at elite groups. So what big miners could do, what the greedy miners could do to the ecosystem. Well, first of all, they are not buying fossil energy because renewables are cheapest. Renewables are clean, they are an okay energy, and they are being put in the development areas of the planet. So developing countries, they are creating jobs. They are creating jobs for hardware industry that will be used for high performance computation as a whole. So it's just a great investment, a great kind of greedy person to exist in an ecosystem. They're just creating economic development when they hold the coins or when they win the game. Mostly everybody win the game. This is my take on the proof of work consensus. So Nervos Network, they've got an updated consensus protocol. So Nervos Network is building upon BTC real world 1 trillion market cap success, 10 years of success. So it improves upon Bitcoin success. No stakeholder is in a comfortable position. Miners need to sell their coins constantly in order to keep being profitable. Consensus protocols was updated so that selfish mining reduces the rewards to everybody instead of increasing it for the selfish miners only. Proof of work produces a lot of incentives for fast computing research, clean energy, and investments in developing countries, in which clean energy is a cheap resource. When a user participates in a DeFi smart contract in Nervos, its funds stay tied to the user's private key. So in Nervos, we don't have the centralized finance in which all the money goes into one contract. When you participate on a DeFi contract in Nervos blockchain, the native DeFi contracts will just connect your private key to your money and to the DeFi contract. So if anybody has to transfer that money out of the DeFi contract, you should sign the transaction. So if a hacker wants to steal your money on a DeFi Nervos network, he will have to discover your private key. Yeah, very different from the account model in Ethereum. So the network consensus doesn't rely on reward stakeholders financially. This is another very distinctive thing from Nervos network. It's very different from Cardano, for example. We don't depend on staking for the validation to occur. We are trusting miners, greedy miners, that's promoting economic development in poor countries. So if holders discover higher yield sources, and they will, it doesn't make any difference to the long-term sustainability of Nervos network. So today in Nervos we have the Nervos DAO, which is kind of a first DeFi contract. It has a reason to exist. You should study that. We will probably be talking about Nervos DAO in the future. You can earn a annual percentage on yield for your coins, your CKBs, but it's not used to allow for validations. The miners are working in exchange for validating the transactions. So the end result in Nervos network is that Nervos does significant improvements on successful pool systems with its innovative economic design incentives and updates on the consensus protocol. So I guess this is just my gut feeling. It's not easy for any participant to take over on the Nervos network. So for me, from my perspective, it's just an okay coin to be in. So that's it. We got updated consensus, and this holds people from colluding against other participants. So that's it. Hold your nervos, my friend. Your CKB. I guess this was the longest video. It's the most complicated one so far. My head is just exploding by having gone through all those subjects, but it's worth it. I had to create this video to tell people about all those kinds of criterias and inspections that I've been doing on blockchains. I don't know if I'm right? But maybe it helps you a little bit. So you can buy CKB on Binance, Huobi, Bithumb, Voyager, and GliaSwap. GliaSwap soon. It's the next launch for the team, right? So come and chat with us. Have a good time. I promise I won't be speaking for an hour in your ear. Just subscribe to this channel if you like it, and go to our Telegram channels. Nervos Network is the official one. The team is there. I'm not from the team. I'm just an investor. So I'll be hanging out mostly in the Nervos unofficial chat. Okay? So that's it. Bye-bye.